Hi guys, it's me again. My mom is still in rehab. Today is Friday. Um, 20 something. Don't know. Don't have a calendar right here. And the phone is videoing. um, but we were told not before Monday will she be released. Her room is done. And Monday I will be going to steam clean her rug and pick up the rest of stuff that we didn't have room for in my car to take to Goodwill, or we didn't have room in our trash cans, mine or my brother's. So now I have more room. But anyway, and so, well, actually, so will he as of yesterday. So, but anyway, um, just wanted to come on, and because I just started the new channel, Heavenly Whispers. It's a name I came up with a long time ago when I was going to read poetry. Then there was a brief time when I thought that I would do sleep videos of my dog sleeping and my master bedroom, which is very calming and soothing, or at least to me. So now we have decided that the Heavenly Whispers channel will become me and my family's journey with caring for my mom and her dementia, and how it looks, and tips, whatever. But I did want to let you guys know, because not all of you have come over from Karen's Creative Interiors, which is my sort of home interior crafting, DIYs, organizing channel. So wanted to let you guys know what my background is in terms of home care for people. Basically, it started when I was a year and a half old. My brother was born premature. Believe it or not, I remember when he came home. Mom had to stay in the hospital. And I remember this incredible dread coming over the house, because in them days they didn't have a clue what to do when a child was born premature, and the prognosis was very dire. And I remember that feeling, and I remember him being there and being in a room with him and my dad and being petrified of him. A, he looked like an alien to me, and B, I sensed that dread from my father and whoever was helping, visiting, whatever. So I grew up with basically a cognitively and mentally disabled brother. It was harrowing. In those days, at least till later in his life, mental institutions were a place that they now make horror stories in. It was just incredibly frightening to him, to us, to me as a young girl. And really never got any real answers or real care. So that began my journey of sort of not so much caretaking, but sort of just knowing that he needed different things than the rest of us did. And we all sort of cared for him, watched over him, tried our best to, and were taught to treat him no differently than anyone else. Now, when I was 37, my father was killed in a private plane crash. We are all pilots. My father was a military helicopter pilot in the Navy growing up. He was killed. Him and my uncle were killed in a plane crash. FAA ruled it a catastrophic, unforeseen engine failure. My father was not flying. Someone had purchased the plane, and they went for one more go round, and that's what happened. So, the fellow was licensed. He was the same age as me, licensed for only a year, in an unfamiliar airport in an unfamiliar plane. And if my father was flying, they'd all be here. So, anyway, my father had always, after I was an adult, had me take my brother to doctors and whatever, deal with that medical stuff. Take him grocery shopping, blah, blah, blah. So, he had always wanted me, once I was an adult, to agree and sign papers to be Raymond's caretaker if something happened to him. Of course, I didn't always take that very seriously. My father was 59 when he was killed, and a very, very, my hero, strong man. But I did sign the papers, and really not very long before my father passed away. So then I became responsible for Raymond. Now, my father had bought him a condo, and I never really had to live with him other than brief periods of time when they would release him from the hospital or release him from, I always referred to it as the loony bin. Me and my brother had a great sense of humor and a great camaraderie, and I always used to call him a wacko and stuff like that. But anyway, I used to call it the loony bin, and they would, have a time period where he needed to be more closely monitored. So, and there were times that he was released from jail. Just saying. So for the last 8 years of my brother's life, I was responsible for him. Okay. So that's one of my journeys in caretaking. And not to overlap, in my 20s, I met a man who had had cancer twice and had not breached his 5-year mark from the second go-round, and was then diagnosed with brain cancer right after we were engaged, in fact the same week. So he proposed Christmas Eve, and the day after Christmas we flew to Dallas, and the following day he went to his oncologist. So there you go. But anyway, we moved because we were at the time when he proposed in Rhode Island, living in Rhode Island. He worked for International Power Machines all over the world, but after meeting me, he was from Dallas, and he chose to take a position of the East Coast FE, field engineer tech, for power supplies. And I think he had to just be within so many miles of an airport because it required constant, international, once he was for the United States only, then it was East Coast travel. So we moved to Rhode Island, where I had lived as a teenager for a couple of years in dad was in the military and loved it. I'm basically a girl who was raised in the South. That was one of the few places we lived in the Northeast. But I loved it. We had many friends there. So that's where we were when we had flown home for the holidays to Dallas. And he was diagnosed with the brain cancer. So he lived approximately 2.5 years. And passed away on the anniversary of the day we met, 3 years later, and was buried on my birthday, my 25th birthday. So that was serious upfront caretaking. I think at that time my brother was pretty functional and doing well with mom and dad. But anyway, that was my first real round of caretaking, me and Ron's mom. So, and then came home, and over the years, things exploded with my brother as he got older, and things became more difficult. He was diagnosed, and I would argue, I don't know that his diagnosis was accurate. I don't think they knew enough. I don't know that we'll ever really know. But many bouts with it being institutionalized, the wacky bit, trouble with the law. I was the only person in the family who had a business in my home, who did not have an unregistered telephone number. So I was in the phone book. So my neighborhood police and his neighborhood police, which is just the next town over, he could walk here, called me by day and night. So that ended in he died in 2015. He was 44. No, I'm wrong. 2013. Jeez. But he was 44. His birthday was November 1st, 1960. So I'm thinking it's 2014. So he died in December. He just turned 44 in November. So that was that experience. Then my next experience really was my best girlfriend overlapping my brother. She had a son named Raymond, same as my brother, who had similar issues. We were friends for 29 years. Began having falls. She had just turned 50. And we used to go every year to the shore for 4 days. Twice. Early before the summer, because I was never a fan of crowds. But late spring, and then again in the fall, Halloween, but usually the week before Halloween. And we'd go for 4 days each time, and we used to call it Girls Night Out. So, but anyhow, we had like a little apartment down the shore, and she had come down the hallway and just rammed into the wall so hard and fell, and it just shocked me. And I'm like, Eileen, what is going on? And she said, I just woke up and I guess I'm just dizzy. I don't know. So, but as time went on, she continued to fall and have issues. And I literally begged her to let me make an appointment with the neurologist and take her, because she kept making excuses for what was going on, sort of in denial, you know. And finally managed to get her to do that. Literally what I said to her, Eileen, if you don't want to do it for yourself, please do it for me as your friend, because I'm worried. So she did. And we discovered, it actually took 2 years for her to get a real diagnosis. It's called spinal cerebellar atrophy. And basically what it was is a rare genetic disorder that your brain just shrinks, atrophies, shuts down. So she died at 60, and not long, probably about 3-4 months after she turned 60. And I used to have her every other weekend, so I wasn't her ongoing caregiver. And at some point, because her parents were older, and she was one of 7 siblings, and so there were other caregivers, but I would get her every other weekend. Me and my husband, this is before my husband was ill, we just spoil her rotten and continue our girls' night out and have the girls that would go down the shore or come down the shore for a night or whatever with us and go out. Just spoiled her. My mom, my husband was a fantastic cook all everybody's favorite things, keep the coffee going, or wine. And Eileen just adored my husband too, and so did he her. And but anyway, she died about 10 years after I got involved with her medical and part-time caregiving. So that was Eileen. Then about 1.5 years after my brother passed away, my husband had a emergency surgery where they lost him for 8 minutes. Brought him back, and when they did, 2 and 2 did not make 4 anymore. He had COPD, he had severe osteoporosis, and the fractures in his spine is what caused the surgery that was the emergency. It had ripped holes in his colon, his urethra, and his bladder was the emergency surgery. So he had a colonoscopy. So, prior to that, he'd been throwing blood clots with the COPD, being hospitalized. So, obviously, that's why he quit breathing. So, when he was brought back, they told me he may not make it through the night. And I had been told several times in the first few months of his needing care that he probably wasn't going to make it through the night. I think I count 4 times. But at any rate, once he came around enough to start saying what he wanted, he was in the hospital for 25 days and lost 50 pounds. So he came home 79 pounds. He wanted to have his colostomy reversed. And they kept saying, he's not going to live, blah, 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 blah. And I said, y'all need to stop telling me what I can't do and start telling me what I can do. So they did. So there was a number of criteria. It took me 9 months to get his weight up, to get him off cigarettes. And his health stabilized with different things. So anyway, we did get his colostomy reversed, and I'm here to tell you the man that wasn't going to make it through the night a number of times and was not going to make it through the year to even reverse the colostomy lived another 12 years, and I was his sole caretaker. So this is my experience, and here we are. My brother's done well with home care services coming and helping out. And, lo and behold, one day she just wanders off because she was doing well. And my brother has cameras and he can talk to her through the cameras and blah, blah, blah. And, they were showing up at like 10 o'clock. My brother would leave around 8 to go to work, him and his partner, meet, and his husband. And she did fine because she was always very clean and very fussy about herself. So that she'd have her coffee with them, and then she would go when they'd leave, go jump in the shower and pick out her jewelry and all her fancy clothes. She was very fussy and liked to be dressed up. And of course, in her 80s, it takes a while. So around 10-ish, she'd be finished. And someone would show up, and really it began before she was even diagnosed with dementia. That was about 3 years ago. But it began, the home care services actually began with, she had lost her ability to drive because of her eyesight, and she's diabetic. So she never took care of her sugar levels. She ate sweets and sugar and candy and pies and cakes and just loved her sweets. And I too am diabetic. I am not a sweet eater. But anyway, that took its toll on her vision, amongst other things. Some people call dementia diabetes 3. So that's very scary to me. And I have a video on my reflections and some of the things I do to hopefully stave off my chances of getting dementia because of the diabetes. So, but anyway, this is my knowledge. This is my experience. That I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form. These people were all my loved ones. Best friend, fiance, brother, husband, mother. And this is really just all about a place to reflect, to share what I have learned and know through taking care of others. Because one thing you'll notice of all the people that I cared for, it's all had something to do with the brain. My brother, mentally, cognitively impaired from birth. My fiance had brain cancer. My girlfriend had spinal cerebellar atrophy, shrinking of the brain. My husband quit breathing and the brain was without oxygen for 8 minutes. That what he lost, he lost. He never got that back. And then of course Mom is dementia. So there you go. So I've learned things over the years and just want to share my story. Hope that I'm helping others uh, wanting to hear other people's stories, wanting to create a community, a soft place to fall for myself, but also for others, because I've done this caretaking thing enough times to know that even though I had really basically a screaming crazy 1 week before she was hospitalized with seizure, things are calm right now, and I've gotten ahead, and you'll see the videos of our room, and what got ahead of us, we're now as ahead of as we can be as a family, and creating a better, safer, calmer environment for her. Her room was just unsustainably chaotic with her dementia, and hard even for me to move around in. And I'm a creature of habit and a creature of order and comfort, and found it hard to be in there for any length of time. You know, was taking my baths when she took her shower, because she was able to shower herself, but she had become afraid because she had fallen. So that worked, because the tub is right next to the shower, get her in the shower and in her chair and everything ready to go while I was filling my tub. But I'm here to tell you, with my issues of arthritis, skin issues, and soaking in the tub is a must-do for me on the regular. It wasn't very relaxing. Both because the room was chaotic, because my mom's showering next to me, and, you know, just general worry. So, but anyway, things are calm right now. She was in the hospital for probably a week, and then it's been in rehab for about 9 days. And again, she won't be being released until sometime after the weekend, we've been told. So we're not 100% sure what day that will be, or if it even will be that, next week. But we have gotten out ahead of it. We are prepared for her to come home and the journey ahead. And of course, I will be sharing with you, sharing her with you, sharing family moments, and maybe how to keep yourself calm. I think I learned through all of my caregiving days that with brain issues, cognitive issues, keeping them calm is majorly important. They actually make more sense when they're calm. They can focus better and stuff like that. And I learned that was probably my number one priority in caretaking people with any kind of, I'm sure it crosses over all different types of care, but for me it's been people who have mental, cognitive issues, loss of brain activity, for lack of a better word, deteriorating brain abilities, cognitive, mentally, and all the other ways. So, I hope you found this comforting, encouraging, inspiring. Please join me in my community. Like, subscribe, comment, share. And I will see you on my next video.